Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the South African Human Rights Commission's provincial office is set to hold subpoena hearings into 6 northwest municipalities that have repeatedly failed to respond to investigations into service delivery failures. Now, the move comes after growing complaints from residents as well as a lack of cooperation from local authorities. For more on this, I'm joined by the South African Human Rights Commission's Shirley Mlombo. Shirley, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it then here. Let's just talk about, yes, what prompted this, and I suppose the understanding is there, but what is it exactly was the massive complaints? What are these service delivery failures also at hand, if you might share with us?
All right, thank you, and good afternoon to you and your viewers, and thank you for having us on your show. The South African Human Rights Commission in the Northwest has been receiving a plethora of service delivery complaints in the province. The service delivery complaints mainly relate to water access challenges, sewer spillages onto our roads, people's homes in some instances, and even in water sources. Also, other complaints relate to the state of roads in many communities, which make access to emergency services a challenge in many of our communities. Other challenges relate to the non-collection of refuse or solid waste in some communities, which result in illegal dumping in many instances. And I must indicate that although the South African Human Rights Commission is presently proceeding by way of subpoena against the 6 municipalities, we have received complaints against virtually all municipalities in the province. But the reason we're proceeding by way of subpoena against these municipalities is because we have reached out to them as part of the investigation, but they have not responded to the South African Human Rights Commission.
Is it because perhaps they feel, and I know you can't necessarily speak to their state of mind perhaps then, but why do municipalities or certain respondents not necessarily respond to yourselves? I mean, even just a simple understanding and notification of their procedures, perhaps to detail why they haven't gotten through to certain service deliveries would have just done the job, surely. Do you know why this sort of thing happens?
Of course, that will form part of the subpoena process schedule for the next few days to understand from their side why they are not responding. But I must indicate that some of these municipalities, we have had stakeholder engagements with them with a view to help them understand our mandate and the challenges we are experiencing from them in terms of non-responsiveness. And in respect of some of those municipalities, we've even agreed on communication procedures, who we're going to send correspondence to. And we've explained to them that if they're experiencing a challenge of any kind, they should reach out to the Commission if, for example, they cannot respond by a date that we have indicated. So for many of them, those engagements have been long coming. So we are also at a loss. We don't understand why there is no responsiveness, and we will engage with them further tomorrow to understand any further challenges they are experiencing insofar as responding to communication from the Commission.
Would you say, I mean, you said that there's a whole host actually of areas, regions and municipalities within the Northwest that you've actually been investigating in this regard, and you've just issued the subpoena for 6 of them. But would you say that there's perhaps a culture of neglect or even disregard that you're seeing as a pattern here because of the number of complaints you're seeing?
The preliminary indication does show that there are systemic issues in the province. As you've indicated, they're not isolated, but they are systemic. In terms of why they are there is the investigation that will indicate, is it neglect? Or are municipalities having challenges of their own? We know in various engagements that we've had with municipalities, they all sometimes cite budgetary constraints. They also, in other cases, they cite their inability to raise their own funds, and basically the budgeting model that we are using for service delivery. These are some anecdotal issues that they've raised with us. But as I've indicated, the challenge with the present complaints is the municipalities have not engaged. So we do not know why these specific municipalities have not addressed the issues within their communities. And we hope to get more information. So at this stage, we cannot say it's neglect, but that will form part of the investigation.
I mean, the Commission's previous findings against Swayang, Ngaka, Mulema municipalities, all of those were pretty damning at the time. Just a question mark around whether any follow-ups here would have happened. I mean, do people after these commissions really and inquiries actually do complete the tasks at hand? Do you see better service delivery following these sort of commissions?
Yes, the response from past, subpoena hearings we've had has been very positive, with communication improving in respect of those entities that we have subpoenaed. And also we found that where they've made undertakings under oath during a subpoena, they are more likely to follow through in terms of delivering the responses that they undertook to deliver as part of the subpoena hearing. So I will say that is one of the impactful tools that we have as South African Human Rights Commission to hold respondents to account, and also to ensure that they do follow through in terms of commitments that have been made as part of the process.
Yeah, what is the recourse though? If following the subpoena hearing, you still don't get a response that is perhaps sufficient, or any action being done, or even the delivery of those services being an access to water, sanitation, etc.
The recourse that we have, if municipalities do not follow through in terms of their commitments, we do have several alternatives. The one will be to institute criminal proceedings against municipalities who continue to not provide the necessary assistance the Commission requires to do its work. And the other alternative that remains available to the Commission in such circumstances is, of course, to litigate to ensure that redress is secured for the affected communities. But at this stage, of course, we cannot preempt whether those additional measures will be necessary, but those are the alternatives that remain available to the Commission to hold parties accountable.
Who will the Commission be speaking to here? Will it just be the complainants and then hopefully the municipalities themselves, or will there be other members perhaps spoken to here?
This is a subpoena hearing, which means that we have subpoenaed the local municipalities to appear before the Commission to speak to the complaints that have been lodged against them. The officials that have been subpoenaed in respect of each municipality is the municipal managers, who are accounting officers in their respective municipality. And of course, the complainants have been invited to follow the proceedings and also to provide any additional information they may have to assist the Commission's probe.
I'm not sure if this is pretty much part of your ambit, but I'll just ask nonetheless, does the South African Human Rights Commission then believe maybe structural reforms are needed in how municipalities are managed? Because it feels as though, especially with the number of complaints that you are then receiving, clearly there needs to be a lot of work done. So do you believe, as the South African Human Rights Commission, that perhaps greater regulation or structural reforms may indeed be needed?
Definitely, from not just the work that the Northwest Provincial Office has been doing, but also nationally, we've done work. You'll recall, I believe it was 2 years back, there was a local government conference that we held to look into these issues. What are the structural issues that impede service delivery? So indeed, as we have found in that conference, there is a need for reform within local government sector to strengthen accountability. But there's also need for reform in terms of how local government is funded, how the equitable share actually works on the ground, because currently the assumption is that municipalities are able to generate revenue But we are finding that in reality, many municipalities, particularly rural municipalities, are unable to generate their own revenue, which hampers service delivery. And of course, in some instances, they are unwilling, to do what is necessary to ensure that they collect revenue from those residents who can actually afford to pay for services. So there is indeed, from past work that we've done as a commission, a need for broader reform on how local government is organized to ensure greater effectiveness for service delivery.
Yeah, very significant. Shirley Mlombo, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. This hopefully will be a commission and subpoena hearings that we'll try to follow, because it'll be very important to get the recourse then post this commission as well then. Thank you so much for the time. That is the provincial manager for the South African Human Rights Commission in the Northwest Province there, Shirley Mlombo, joining us then to unpack those subpoena hearings for various municipalities.